Today's conference is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now I'd like to turn the meeting over to Amanda Clemick, U.S. Census Bureau. Thank you. You may begin.
All right, thank you very much, and good afternoon to everybody joining us this afternoon for our webinar on how to use the American Community Survey's Geodatabase files. My name is Amanda Clemick, and I work with the Census Bureau's American Community Survey Office's Outreach and Education Branch. And I'm here today with my colleagues, Artemis O'Connor from the Geography Division, and we're also happy to be joined by Diana Lavery, who works on the ArcGIS Living Atlas of the World project at Esri. And she will be demonstrating how to use these powerful files in ArcGIS Pro. If you'd like to follow along with our webinar today, we posted the slides on the web page for this webinar on the ACS website, and our recording and transcript will be available on the website within the next few weeks. So based on the previous feedback about our webinars we've had in the past, we've heard that users consistently want new and different ways to access our data. With that in mind, we want to take this opportunity to show you how you can access these files in ArcGIS Pro. We'll start by going over some of the basics to get you familiar with the ACS, and then I'll hand it over to Artemis in our Geography Division to get you started with the Geodatabase files and how to access them on the Geography website. Artemis will go over what the Geodatabase files are and how you can access and download them. And from there, Diana will demonstrate these files for you in ArcGIS Pro, where you will learn how to join feature class to tables, as well as how to use metadata tables to identify full descriptions of variables. We'll then look at some resources for finding out more and leave you with some ways you can reach out for help with the survey, as well as how to get involved in the very active ACS community. Finally, we'll leave some room for questions. So first, we're going to cover some basics about the American Community Survey, or ACS, and this will show you a bit about the data behind the Geodatabase files. The ACS is the nation's most current, reliable, and accessible data source for local statistics on critical planning topics such as age, children, veterans, commuting, education, income, and employment. The survey samples approximately 3.5 million addresses every year, and data are collected continuously throughout the year to produce annual social, economic, housing, and demographic estimates. The data collected through the ACS, along with other census programs such as the Population Estimates Program, are used to help inform over $675 billion of federal government spending each year. And the ACS covers more than 40 topics and supports more than 300 known federal uses and countless non-federal uses. Businesses and communities use these estimates each year to make vital decisions, including where to locate hospitals and schools, what transportation needs exist, and what goods and services businesses should provide to customers. And we release 3 different sets of these estimates each year. The first is the one-year estimates, which are collected over 1 calendar year and include geographies with populations 65,000 and above. Then we release one-year supplemental estimates, which include modified versions of popular one-year tables. And these are released for geographies with populations 20,000 and above. And finally, the 5-year estimates, which are collected over a period of 60 months or 5 years, include more granular levels of geography, such as census tract and block group. You can see these sets of estimates broken down here. And just really quickly, I want to go over the release dates for these estimates generally. We will have these posted to our website soon, but these are generally the months they're released. So make sure to be checking the census.gov/ACS website for more information, because they'll be posted very soon for the 2020 ACS data release. So the ACS data collected in 2020 are planned to be released in September as one-year estimates and in October as one-year supplemental estimates. And the 2016 to 2020 ACS 5-year estimates are planned to be released in December. Again, exact dates will be posted very soon on census.gov/ACS. So keep checking, and the exact page is linked on this slide. Later in the presentation, Artemis will give you more information on the release information for the Geodatabase files and which ACS data sets are included. When you think of the Census Bureau, you might think of the decennial census that happens every 10 years, most recently the 2020 census. To familiarize you with the ACS, let's compare the ACS with the decennial census. ACS estimates are based on a sample of the population, whereas the census is based on the official count of the population. Every year, over 3.5 million housing unit addresses are contacted by the Census Bureau to participate in the ACS. The information obtained from the sample is then used to estimate characteristics about the total population in a timely and cost-effective manner. However, these estimates differ from those that would be obtained in a census, where every household in the nation is contacted. This results in an element of uncertainty in the ACS data. As such, ACS estimates include a margin of error, or MOE, and this MOE gives us more information about the population by telling us how much the estimate may vary from the true population value. So what does the ACS collect? The ACS collects information that previously appeared on the census long form. So this involves detailed social, economic, housing, and demographic characteristics. We'll get into this a little bit later in the presentation. And the census, as you might know, collects basic demographic characteristics in the short form, such as age, sex, race, Hispanic origin, household relationships, and housing tenure. So what's produced from this? The ACS produces population and housing characteristics, whereas the census produces population and housing totals. And finally, when is the new data available and what does it reflect? So the ACS occurs annually, reflecting a time period of over which the data are collected, averaging data for 12 months or 60 months, whereas the census occurs every 10 years and reflects a point in time. And you might already know, since we had to do this recently, that census date is April 1st. So that is what the 2020 census will reflect. The ACS data collection operation uses 3 modes that take place over a 3-month period: internet, mail, and personal visit. For most housing units, the first phase of data collection includes an invitation for the household to respond via internet, and this is mailed to the sample address. Internet data collection started in 2013. If the household does not respond by internet, a paper questionnaire is sent to the sample address for the household to complete and return by mail. If the Census Bureau is unable to reach an occupant of the address via internet/paper questionnaire, or if the unit had an unmailable address, the address may be selected for a computer-assisted personal interviewing known as CAPI. And so that's when Census Bureau field representative will come and follow up at the respondent's door, and they will do the interview in person. And at any point in this process, receipt of an internet response or a completed paper questionnaire results in the address being removed from the workload. And so respondents are always able to call at any time the telephone questionnaire assistance line, and they can have questions answered about the survey, or if they would just prefer to complete the entire survey over the phone. The content collected by the ACS can be grouped into 4 main types of characteristics, and we can see these displayed here: social, economic, housing, and demographic. You can see some of the social characteristics listed on the left, including popular topics such as disability and educational attainment. The ACS also collects basic demographic characteristics such as age, Hispanic origin, race, relationship, and sex. And as we pointed out earlier, this is the same information collected on the decennial census. Economic characteristics below, such as income, employment status, and the others you see here are also available. And finally, on the right, you see housing characteristics, which include both the physical and financial characteristics of housing, such as year build and home value. Each question on the ACS is required for federal and state programs. We provide a resource on the ACS website called the Why We Ask page, and this gives the public information on the required use cases for these questions, as well as how they appear on the questionnaire. Now that you understand more about the data we provide, let's talk about how we number our tables, and this will really help you when we get to the demonstration of the Geodatabase files in ArcGIS. So while the characters of the ID of the table may look random at first, each ID is purposely numbered to describe the content of the format within the table. So for example, here on the screen we see B06004 APR, and that shows that the table contains place of birth statistics for the white alone population in Puerto Rico. Table IDs consist of up to 5 elements. So element 1 identifies the table type. In this example, the type of table is a base table, which is a type of detailed table. Element 2 identifies the subject. In this case, the subject of the table is place of birth. Element 3 is a sequential number or a set of 2 or 3 digits that uniquely identifies the table within a given subject. Element 4 is the race iteration for the table, and in this case, each table is repeated for the 9 major race and Hispanic or Latino groups, A through I. The A stands for white alone. A table will only have this letter if it is a table that is in those race-iterated table series. Element 5 is for tables where the content of the table for Puerto Rico differs from the U.S. table, and the PR will only be included if the table is from the Puerto Rico Community Survey. The ACS provides data for more geographies on an annual basis than any other household survey. And the great thing about this slide is that we can see how the different levels of geography interact with one another. So lower geographic areas fit neatly within the larger areas directly connected to lines. For example, you can see congressional districts, school districts, and places, which you might know as cities, towns, and other municipalities, fit neatly within states and don't cross state boundaries. But they may cross boundaries of counties or metropolitan areas since they're not directly connected. The ACS's unique ability to report on a wide range of geographies is what gives it such a broad appeal. And we're grateful to have this webinar today to be able to demonstrate the power of data and geography. Now, to give you a quick primer on census tracts and block groups, census tracts are small statistical subdivisions within a county with populations of 1,200 to 8,000 people. So think small towns, rural areas, and neighborhoods. Block groups are, as the name implies, a group of blocks within a census tract with approximately 600 to 3,000 people, as you see blown out in the right corner of the screen. So at this point, I will hand it off to Artemis, who will talk about the Geodatabase files and show you how to access and download them from the geography website.
Hello, I'm Artemis. I'm from the Geography Division of the Census Bureau, and I'm going to talk about where we can find these geodatabases. But to begin with, let me talk about these special type of geodatabases. A tiger line with selected demographic and economic data, the geodatabase file contains geographic boundary data pre-joined with demographic and economic data variables. A geodatabase is a geographic file that can only be used in Esri, ArcGIS, and related software. These files are released in the spring following the ACS 5-year estimate file release. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to talk about where we can find these files. If you want to pass it over to me. Okay. I'm going to open up and show you on our website where you can find these files. So I'm starting at census.gov, and from here you want to click on Browse by Topic and then choose Geography. This is our Geography program page where you can find all kinds of information about our different types of geographic data that we offer. But in this case, we want to go right to the Geographies tab, which is the icon on the right side. And on the Geographies page, we're going to choose the Geography Mapping files. Then on the Geography Mapping files, like with all of our files, it's organized by date. I happen to know that the most recent that we have for these particular type of geodatabases are from 2018. So I'm going to go to the 2018 menu And you'll find these at the bottom, tiger line with selected demographic and economic data. I click on that, and that's going to bring me to the page. So as you can see, 2018 is our most recent. And I'm sure you're wondering about the 2019. The 2019 files will be available hopefully by the end of April, maybe early May. So here's the page where you would download the files. In this case, I'm going to download census tract data. So I'm going to scroll down and look through all of our geographies that we have here. The census tract data and block group and other related data are in drop-down menus here. I'm going to choose Delaware. And I'm going to allow the files to download. So what happens is you choose a state, it downloads to your computer, and you'll notice that it's a zipped file. So you're going to need to unzip this file in whatever zipping software that you happen to have on your computer. You unzip it and you save it in a place that you can later find it when you want to use it in the ArcGIS Pro software. Also, what I want you to be able to see is that in the upper right-hand side of your screen, there will be technical documents for these files. So note that the technical documents are available on the same page that you download your files. Okay, I think we're ready for the ArcGIS Pro demonstration. Let me see if I can pass this on. Okay, I will pass this on to Diana, and she will continue our presentation.
Thank you, Artemis. All right. So as she just described, she downloaded tracks for Delaware, unzipped it, and saved it into her Pro project here. This contains polygons for those tracks of Delaware, a metadata table, and then all kinds of subject tables that start with X. So I will add the polygons to the map, the metadata table, and then say I'm interested in ancestry. I can add that one as well. These come in as standalone tables. Let's take a look at them. You'll see that these all have 04 in the second and third place of the field names. That comes from X04. So they'll probably either start with B04 or C04. How can we find out what these mean? If I open the metadata table, this contains all the aliases, and you'll see B04 and then all of the rest of the field name elements that Amanda went over. Now, I could assign these one by one as the field aliases here, but we've actually created a script tool for you all that we are happy to share today. Let me show you here. So I will post this in the chat in a little bit when I'm done with my demo, but basically you download this. It's a script tool that allows you to bulk assign aliases from a lookup table. If I unzip that file, navigate to the folder, and open the script tool, here's what it looks like. I'll input my attribute table as that ancestry one. Input the lookup table. This will be that metadata table. Short name field, you guessed it, and then long name field. These are taken from the two fields in that metadata table. Now, it does take a few minutes to run, so I'm not going to do it today, but fast forward, I've actually already done that on the age and sex table here. And when I open it up, you'll see that these fields all contain those beautiful aliases. If for whatever reason I did want to get back to the field names, they're preserved as well. But we'll work with the aliases right now. And now we want to join this attribute table to our polygons. Let me show you what this attribute table looks like. It's pretty bare bones because it's just the polygons themselves. It just has some geographic information. And this GeoID underbar data corresponds with what we saw in this table here with GeoID. So that's going to be our match key. We're going to match on that attribute. So navigating to the polygon layer, we'll put join, add join, and we know it's going to be GeoID underbar data. We want to join to age and sex, and it already picks up on the fact, hey, that matches to GeoID. Now you'll see this warning here. It's saying your join field, GeoID underscore data, is not indexed. This is okay for the tracts in Delaware. However, if you are working with like block groups or California or Texas or something with a lot more records, you're going to want to put an index on here on that field. It's just saying we're going to be querying this field really intensely. So you can call this anything you like. I'll call it joining match key. All right. And it'll just really speed up the processing. So now I'll say add join again. And I want to join on GeoID data to that age and sex one based on GeoID. And now we don't have a warning here because we did apply that index. It'll run the join super fast with that index in place. And now we have all those age and sex fields attached to the polygons from that polygon layer. So we are now ready to get to work. Say we wanted to do a really quick lookup. Oops, there we go. Sorry. There we go. Look up an address and see what tract it falls into. I have the address of the Capitol building in Delaware that I'll use. It's 411 Legislative Drive, or excuse me, Legislative Ave. There we go. And we can say add to a feature class. We'll create a new one just of this point so that we can work with it a little bit more. Let me get rid of the catalog pane and zoom out just a tad. Here we see this point. We can pull up what tract it's located in. Turns out it's located in this tract here, 041300. But what's even better is that now we get all this attribution that's attached to that tract. So you can use it for all kinds of analysis purposes and mapping purposes. Let me zoom out a hair here. And your basic select by attributes, say you wanted to identify certain tracts that meet different criteria, like where, you know, there are 60-year-old males, and these aliases come through here. So that's really nice. And we can say is at least a certain number or whatever the case may be. When we click apply, only the tracts that meet that requirement will be selected. Similarly, we can select by location if we've got other layers in our mapping environment. But if we wanted to do more mapping and cartography rather than the analysis itself, one tip I have for you is to turn off the water tracks by applying a definition query. Census makes this really easy. They've numbered the tracks in such a way where all the water tracts actually start with 9. So I'll say where tract does not begin with, does not begin with 9. And now we get the shorelines that cartographers like to see. There is definitely a case to be made for showing the legal international boundaries that you saw previously. But if you're doing mapping, apply that definition query and use that really nice naming convention that has been established by the Census Bureau. From there, there's a lot more mapping we can do in symbology, all kinds of options. You're probably most familiar with graduated colors. This is great for rates and percentages, where, the darker the color, the higher the rate. We also do have an unclassed option of that, where instead of 4 or 5 shades of blue, we have as many shades of blue as you have tracts. So if a tract is ever so slightly higher than another one, it'll be ever so slightly more blue. And this is great because it lets the data breathe a lot more. If you're mapping counts or integers, maybe using the sizing as your variable on the symbol would be more appropriate than using color for the whole filled polygon. So again, integers, counts, things of that nature, it's good to use size there. And finally, I would recommend using this base map option to change your base map from the topographic to something a little bit more neutral. Human geography is a really great one. It's got the highways and infrastructure, like railroad tracks and things like that. Or light gray canvas is another good one, where it's just a very neutral look. We won't have the colors from that topographic base map competing with the colors of our map. All right. With that, I will turn things back over to Amanda.
All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. And okay. All right, so now after that great demo, I'd like to finish up with some resources that you can find online to help you learn a little bit more about what we've covered today. So we'll finish up with some ways you can get in touch with us, and then we'll hand it over to some Q&A. So the best place to find information on the ACS is from the ACS website at census.gov/ACS. And the tabs at the left of the home page, as shown on this slide, will help guide you through the many different sections of the website, including news and updates, data, guidance for data users, technical documentation, and so on. And following up from that, this is our technical documentation page. And in the left navigation bar, there's a list of important documentation that will help you better understand the ACS data that underlies these files. So this includes code lists, definitions, and accuracy. And this page contains the detailed codes and definitions for variables, statistical testing, and an explanation of the sample design, methodology, and accuracy. So if you really want to get into the weeds on some of that, it's all available here. Then you can find table and geography changes, and this page covers changes to geography for each year as well as changes to the tables, and it provides the table shelves for each data release as well. So following on to that, you can find the full table shelf and table list in the next section, table shelves and table list. And this allows you to view the layout of the ACS tables without estimates and margins of error filled in, as well as a list containing information about each table. So after you go and hear all this today, if you do end up using these files or any other ACS data to help create real outcomes in your community or for your business, we'd like to hear about it through our Share Your Story feature. And that way we can share it with others and we can show people how important the data is and everything you can do with it. So I want to take this opportunity to remind everyone that there's a group specifically for users of American Community Survey data. And this group allows users to share how they are using the data with other members and to solicit advice and feedback on their ideas from our over 3,000 members. Membership is free and open to all interested ACS users. More information can be found at acsdatacommunity.prb.org, listed at the bottom of the screen. And as a reminder, the 2021 ACS Data Users Conference will be held virtually for 3 days on May 18th through 20th, 2021. And the conference will bring together ACS data users and Census Bureau staff to share information on key ACS data issues and applications, including presentations by ACS data users, invited plenary sessions, breakout sessions, lightning sessions, and informal roundtable discussions. Registration details will be provided soon, so feel free to get over to acsdatacommunity.prb.org and follow for more information. Data dissemination specialists, or DDSs, speak data and they communicate with others about Census Bureau data in plain language, usually English, but sometimes other languages as well. Depending on the needs of their communities, they can conduct one-on-one webinars with business startups, conduct large-scale presentations at universities, and just generally they strive to put the public in touch with the data they need. DDSs provide a wide variety of assistance, so feel free to get in contact with them and ask if they would be able to provide assistance to your organization or any of your data users that you work with. And if you're interested in a specific type of training or presentation, please reach out to them using the contact information on this slide. Finally, you can sign up for and manage alerts on ACS news and events, such as conferences and webinars, like the one today, via GovDelivery. You can visit our website, census.gov/ACS or census.gov/geo to get to the geography website. And you can connect on social media using the hashtag ACSData, and you can reach out to us for support at acso.users.support@census.gov. Always remember that S at the end of users, very important. You can also reach out to our colleagues in the Geography Division at geo.geography@census.gov for any Census Bureau-related geography questions. And if you do end up using ACS data to create any cool mapping projects or otherwise, make sure to source us. It helps people figure out where they can get the detailed information that we are giving you today. And so now we'd like to open up the line to any questions. And while questions are coming in, we have a couple other slides that Diana is going to show us on Esri resources.
Yes, thank you, Amanda. I put the links in the chat to both that script tool available for download as well as a blog post with step-by-step instructions and a little bit more information about how to use it. And then the next slide shows the community.esri.com. These are forums where lots and lots of Esri users post questions, share ideas, collaborate, essentially. So we've got one of the products, obviously, ArcGIS Pro, which is what you saw today. I also included another one for Living Atlas of the World, as we do have a subset of ACS data in there. Some of the more popular tables are available in Living Atlas of the World as well. There are obviously other forums as well for different products, but these two are probably the ones that this group is most interested in. Thanks.
All right, now operator, if we have any questions lined up, feel free to pass them on through.
Thank you. We will now begin the question and answer session. If you'd like to ask a question, please press *1. You'll be prompted to record your name. To withdraw your request, please press *2. One moment, please, to see if we have any questions or comments.
Hey, Amanda, this is Gretchen. We have some questions from chat that we think are best for Diana. Can we give those? Can we read some of those to her?
Sounds good. We'll do those while any more phone questions might be coming through. So go ahead, Gretchen.
All right. Does the field alias script also work in ArcMap/catalog?
Not right now. We are testing it as to why it's not working in ArcMap. It runs, but then you open your table and we don't see any aliases on there. So in our mind, it's not quite ready for ArcMap in terms of that backward compatibility. We are looking into it.
All right. So I'm not sure where in the presentation people were asking these questions, but someone said, how does this compare to Living Atlas data in Pro? I'm not sure what this is, but.
Okay, Living Atlas data is hosted on the web. So if you are signed in Pro to connect to ArcGIS Online, you can retrieve Living Atlas data that way. We do not have the entirety of the American Community Survey as these files do. We have about 100 of the most popular tables.
Okay. Hello, can this be done on any ArcGIS Pro license?
Yeah. The things I shared today, yes. There are more advanced analysis functionality that would be the higher tiers of licensing, but everything I showed today is available at all license levels.
Okay, and then the last one I have, will the scripts work in ArcMap or only ArcPro?
Yeah, right now it's only working in ArcGIS Pro. We are looking into getting it to work in ArcMap. It'll say that it runs, but then if you open your attribute table, the aliases are not visible. So we're looking into it, but it works in Pro every time we've tried it. You can feel free to comment on the tool item page itself and, express your interest there as well. That'd be really helpful.
Okay, I think those were some of the questions we pulled for you from chat. Thank you.
We do have one audio question that came through.
Oh, sorry.
We do have one audio question that came through.
All right, wonderful.
William Degman, your line is open.
All right, thank you very much. Great presentation this afternoon. I did work for the Census this past enumeration period, and it was a very fantastic experience. I learned so much from it. My question for today is, will these demographics and all the geo information that you have provided, and there's so much of it, will this help to identify the at-risk community in any location? Because we know it's a dynamic. It can get bigger, it can get smaller, it can move in and out of a community. So would this be a practical application of identifying those communities?
That's a great question. So, you can absolutely use any of our, it's a great way to connect data with geography to be able to, you want to determine, come up with your own determinations based on, if, for example, if you have an organization that, provides aid to a certain community or something, you would want to come up with your own determinations for who might be at risk, and depending on what events what might be happening for what would classify somebody as at risk. So you would first determine that, what you want to classify as at risk, and then come up with the variables that you're interested in. So if you're looking for instance, over 65, or access. Commonly overlooked, but sometimes very useful one in terms of like natural disasters is access to vehicles, so on and so forth. So it would be good to go to census.gov/ACS and browse our, I think it might be about the ACS or guidance for data users. Look at our topics and see which of those topics might jump out to you as you know, good for classifying who you want to classify as at risk. There's also a couple other applications of the data that you might find interesting. If you're looking for natural disasters, there's actually a tool called On the Map for Emergency Management that the Census Bureau puts out that combines both ACS data along with some of our economic data, such as it's LEHD, Longitudinal Employment and Household Dynamics Survey. So that's, you know, workforce and demographics, socioeconomic data. And that actually, the On the Map for Emergency Management pulls in data from FEMA and other agencies to pull in live disaster data. And it actually shows some of those predetermined at-risk categories for you. But if those don't, like, if you want to come up with something more custom, this would be a great application for that. You might also be interested in looking at the community resilience estimates. That's a fairly new product that you might want to look into as well, and that's good for identifying sort of the more at-risk as well. So you can kind of go around and see what other people have done and determine what you might want to do yourself.
So you can really customize this thing to your specific community and the needs and desires of that community, I guess is what it sounds like you're saying.
Absolutely, yeah. As I said earlier, we have over 40 topics and then, you know, many, many variables within those topics. So as I said, again, an often overlooked one is access to vehicles. You know, so you can you can look into those over 40 topics and really see what you might be interested in building your tool or application.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I'm certainly going to pass this on to our emergency management personnel here in our town. It sounds like a very useful product.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
We do have another question that came through from David Holtzman. Your line is now open.
Oh, hi. I asked the question in the Q&A. I can't type in the chat. I'm a very new user, but very computer savvy here. I was asking if we could get a demonstration on screen of highlighting on a map all the census tracts in Delaware with at least a 10% Latino population or Black, and then I would like to see the total population of each tract in a table. So how you do that? But now I realize that you know, Latino population, Black, those are probably complete census categories. Perhaps you could do some sort of stratification for something that's just in the ACS and show how the same things would be done.
Right. So I can go ahead and take that. So yeah, that data, the data does exist in the ACS for Black or African American, and then also Hispanic or Latino origin. So those tables do exist, and as I said, these are made up of detailed tables. So I think the best way to go about that might be to start on data.census.gov, and under advanced search, you might want to search under race and ethnicity, and then that would show you the tables that are related to that. And then Diana, I know you showed that there's a way to you can view the list of topics, correct? So that would be, I think it would be under the X01. Is that correct?
Yeah, as soon as you select the exact fields you want to use, you can do select by attributes, and then, you know, say over 10% or over a certain number. Yeah, I think what you're asking about is how to get into that, and it would be select by attribute.
Okay. Perhaps you could show on the screen how you would map something like whether someone is a renter or an owner, maybe show how you would show the tracks with, at least 30% renter or something like that, or less than 30% renter, just so I could see on the screen how you would go about mapping those and then tabulating those, or some other category that's just unique to the ACS.
So I can hand it over to Diana really quick, and she can show you how to find the attributes. And then if you want to as well, you can also, that's if you're looking for like a particular, like a specific topic, or a couple specific topics, that might be a good thing to follow up with if you want certain race category, or if you want a certain tenure category of owner versus renter. That might be a good subject for the forums, actually. But yeah, I think, Diana, would you mind showing real quick how to find the attributes?
Sure. So here I was only working with this first table, age and sex, but for some of the other categories you mentioned, they would be in these other subject tables. But we'll stick with age and sex right now. If I go to
I happen to know off the top of my head that owner renter would be under X25, I believe, under housing. So that would be housing characteristics. So that would be where you'd go for that. And I think for X, it would probably be X01 for like total population under race categories, I believe.
Okay, I see how you would find the categories. I was just wondering how you would do a query that would have its results show on a map of all the tracks that have over a certain level of, say, renter or something like that.
Yeah, so if we just stick with age and sex, I can show you here. So where, and then we'll say, just keeping it really simple, where the male under 5 is less than, we could say, I'm making this up right now, 100. And then click apply. And now we get those tracks where that statement is true. Is that criteria satisfied? Or criterion, in this case, satisfied. So these blue tracks here are the tracks where that male under 5 population is less than 100. And so we see
that's not percent, though. That's just number, right?
Yeah. In this case, I just did the number. So 98 tracks out of 214. And we can look just at those records if we'd like.
I see. Okay. Could you do percentage within a tract?
My understanding is that we would first calculate the percentage fields here. Maybe Artemis knows more about if any of these contain percentages. I think they mostly contain counts, but you could
counts of households.
Yeah. Counts of
I should just let you know I'm on a redistricting commission, and I'm looking for ways that the ACS might add value to the overall census data that we're going to get.
So, Amanda, another opportunity to share our contact information, and we can have another conversation offline. It sounds like you have a lot of specific questions.
Okay. And who was just saying that? And I could reach you? How could I reach you?
Yep, we'll have Amanda put up the slide with our contact info.
Oh, Amanda, okay.
Yeah, okay. Let me, once Diana is finished, I will post the slide again.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We do have another question from Linus Chin. Your line is now open.
Yep. My name is Linus Chin. I'm from San Francisco. and I was working in this survey like NHIS, National Health Survey, and I work on the housing housing survey, and I would like to work on ACS. How do I do it?
Sorry, so are you asking how do you get started working with ACS data?
Yes.
Okay, so we actually have a lot of great resources for you.
And we got to contact to LA office or main office like from New York, like you know. So I don't know how to contact.
So you can actually start on our website. Let me share.
I have a name on the website already. I registered it in website. I mean, in LA office. And they said they sent it to the New York. So it might be in your place, my name.
Okay, so if you've already explored the resources on the website and you have you want some more specific information, you can feel free to email us at the acso.users.support@census.gov.
Okay, let me write down. Hang on 1 minute. You're too fast, ACS.
Okay. ACSO. .users, USERS. Dot support, SUPPORT. At census.gov, and it's listed on your screen next to the right of the little envelope picture. And Caleb also just put it in the chat. So if you can see the chat, he also just pasted it into the chat.
Oh, okay. So let me repeat: acso.user.support@census.com.
Yeah. ACSO.users with an S .support.
ACSO or ACS dot?
Sorry, yes. ACSO is in O is in office. .users.support@census.gov.
Okay. I work in the census as a part-time since 2015.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll look forward to hearing from you.
Sure. So I got to send an email or?
Yes, go ahead and send an email to us with more specific questions.
Okay. Thank you.
I show no further questions.
All right. If we don't have any further questions, thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate you joining us for this webinar. And again, feel free to reach out to us with any questions or if you want to share something you've done with our data. So, have a great day.
Thank you. This ends today's conference call. Thank you for participating. You may disconnect at this time.